Hey everybody, welcome back to Omens. It's been 3 weeks. So yeah, thank you all for understanding, your patience for me getting my head figured out. Yeah, I was gonna try to start up again last week, but I didn't have everything written out. Work's also been a bitch. So we're basically, luckily, May has 5 Sundays, so we're just gonna move everything. I was like, you know what, I'll just move everything down a week, pretty much. So instead of a fifth extra, it'll just be the normal fourth Sunday major arcana. I was hoping to maybe do two to make up for it and also get things back on track, but the only thing really back on track would be my poor notebook because I already have everything written out, so I'm having to go backwards for the major arcana card, but meh. I'm just going to do just the usual three and I'll just keep going from there. So, yeah. Oh, by the way, I'm Ryan, AM air pronouns. Yeah. So, yep, it's been interesting. But anyway, welcome to this episode. We're talking about the Ten of Wands, the final numbered card in the Wands suit. All right, so let's go ahead and dive in. So first up, our first part, we've got our number, of course, our numerology. So the interesting thing about this, all right, so the card I've got for this is my Mystical Cats card. We've got a very lovely scene here of 5 kitties, all in a panic as the fire pit they had been sitting around explodes, literally. The 10 in here is the fireballs. 10 fireballs just kind of exploding, rocketing out. Area go everywhere, and this is not good because this is in an enclosed space. It's like a big temple area. It's actually a continuation of the card previous, where these cats had all been sitting around the fire pit, and like basically they were in control of the fire. Here in this Ten of Wands, they're no longer in control at all. It's explosive. So the numerology of the number 10. Now, where I had to go for this is a little different because most numerology digits go 0 through 9. There is, I know, a larger school of numbers that go past 9. I gotta find where to find that though, because I've heard it, but there's nowhere I can really find that doesn't go past 9. The 10, however, I got from the book I have on the Marseille deck. So the numerology of the number 10, according to that book, and I don't remember the book or the name of the author, but I do know it is the person who created the CBD Marseille tarot deck. And no, not CBD as in cannabis style. It stands for something else, but I can't remember off the top of my head. All right, so the number 10 stands for totality, culmination, the final outcome of evaluation. It starts with a 1, so the number 10, it starts with a number 1, which is the opening of a new number, and it's paired with a 0, which is kind of infinity, the unknown number. It's more of a symbol, a placeholder. So it's like basically 10 comes at the end, so to speak, but it's also a whole new start because 0 is that it's a placeholder. It's that symbol of infinity, of both beginning and ending, and none of the above. It's a place of no beginning and no end. 1 is the number that starts. So we have this cycle. We've gone through 1 through, we've gone 0 all the way to 9, and now we're moving up. In one way, we're going back to 0, but it's 0 plus 1, or 1 plus 0. So we're heading into the next cycle, the next higher cycle. We've gone from one level up to the next level. We'll go through that, and then up to the next, and then up, up, up. You kind of see it's a repeat of the lower pattern. It's a repeat of the patterns of numbers, but it's in a higher frequency because now we've got this unity number expanded upon by 0, which is telling us it's the next level up in the infinite cycles. And will continue, so the next number would be 11, which would be double. It's known as a master number. I know 11 and 22 for sure are master numbers. Past that, it gets a little bit, some say they aren't, some say they are, yada yada yada. But 11 would be, so we have our number 1 twice. So our number 1 is like a single unity divine number, the number of self, times 2 is the number of self on the next level. So 10 is starting us on that next level up. It's basically, it's kind of both good and bad. We're ascending to the next level, but we're declining back to number 1. It's like we've gone 1 to 9, and now we're going back to 1, but we're ascending to the next level up. So kind of that kind of going on. So, however, here in the Ten of Wands, we see that doesn't quite look like that's what's going on. It looks like everything exploded on them. So, but if you think about it in a way, fire is transformation. So they have ascended. They've worked their way through the previous numbers. They've built this glorious temple. They've learned. They've grown in their own abilities. They're ready to move on to the next step, and we can see them attempting that in card 9. However, here in card 10, they find that maybe they bit off more than they can chew. Things have gone out of control. There's fire spewing everywhere. So this temple, this space that they're in, is most likely going to burn down, and they will have to go backwards and start again, but they've already worked through their first level, so they're moving up to the next level. Now they know what does and doesn't work, and they can work to getting to what they were trying to do, but step by step instead of trying to jump ahead type deal. Okay, you got to 10, but you tried to hit 30 or 20. That's not going to work. You've still got 9 more steps before you can get to this step, at least. So it's like, okay, because you tried to do this, you tried to jump ahead, well, now you know you aren't prepared for this, and you're going to have to go back a little bit and repace yourself through steps, but a level up, because you've already gone through this, so you know stuff. So things will be slightly different because you'll know, but it'll feel like you're doing the same things over, but you're building on that foundation you've already built. So this may look like absolutely horrible, and in a way it is. I mean, they spent a lot of time on this, but it'll be easier the next time through, if that makes sense. Yeah, well, that should make sense. It'll be easier the next time through to rebuild and go up. So that's number 10. Oh, that's what I forgot. I was like, I thought I had a card too many. I don't. I have a card too few now. So the next part of this is oh God, I did put it in the middle. Is the elements. So wands are the element of fire, obviously. So how I see the Ten of Wands represented for in fire is it's kind of a home fire. Keep the home fire burning. And I've got my Archeon Tarot for this, and it's a little dark. We've got 10 wooden stakes in the ground, topped by a single feather, or no, a couple of feathers, and human skulls. Placed in front of a full moon, and beneath them is just burning fire. It's fire burning, and these wands are actually kind of floating in the air. It doesn't look like they're actually stabbed into the ground. They're floating in the air. There's fire burning everywhere, full moon behind them. So we've got the full moon culmination of inspiration and culmination. inspiration. We've got 10 basically warning signs. When people put their enemies' heads on spikes and stake them outside their home, it's a boundary line of do not cross, do not intrude. You will end up like them. But everything is on fire beneath them, and they're kind of rising up and flying through the air, almost kind of like they're ascending beyond their original purpose. It's like we were here to protect, but as we can see that protection is burning, and now we're kind of a warning, kind of an omen of doom for you used us to protect, but now you're the one falling, and it's almost just kind of like a full-on like bad omen right here. Which is interesting because, like I said, I'm like pulling this one out because I have all the other ones assigned to stuff, and I'm like, oh, whoops, I forgot about this one. The kind of fire I see with this is kind of home fire. It's not really home fire, I suppose. I put down home fire, like, keep the home fires burning. It's like we're at the end of a long day, we're trying to go home. It's like we want to be somewhere warm and safe, even though we're exhausted, and it's not an overly strong fire, but it's kind of strong and comforting. But given some of the other things I've found while researching this, I don't think that's quite 100% apt anymore. I still don't feel this is a chaotic fire. This fire is not chaotic. It's strong and it's consistent and constant, but it's not necessarily homey. It's like here we've got that, well, more than likely the home is actually on fire. We had the previous one where it was a fire exploding. Um, um, I'm not quite sure how to explain this one beyond it's strong and it's constant and it's burning down what's unnecessary, but it's also something to come home to like, okay, I give up. Here's the end of this. Let's start over. Let's start again. Um, it's it's a strong. It's not a fire you can really control, but it's not chaotic. It's I'm not sure how to explain it. There's no specific type of fire I'm thinking of. Like not even maybe a bonfire. A bonfire might be what I'm looking for. Because in a bonfire, we're often throwing. Um, Sometimes it's just kind of a party bonfire, but a lot of times with bonfires, people use them to discard things they no longer want, to burn what they no longer want, to be, okay, I'm done with this, toss it in the flames, release. Kind of a releasing bonfire. This is like, okay, we're gonna have to start over. It's like what we were holding on to, it's whether by choice or by not, it's burning now. And nothing to it anymore. We're just gonna have to live with um, live with what we're having to do now. So that's kind of the fire feeling I'm getting. It's it's not it's kind of giving in instead of fighting. It's like, okay, I'm not gonna be able to hold on to this anymore. So I guess I have to move on to the next level to ascend while feeling like we're sliding backwards. Again, with that ascension and decline at the same time. All right, so moving on to the astrology. First up, we have our celestial card, and God, this card always drives me insane because they have the salamander here on top, but it's upside down, looking down at the wands. Um, so I often will get this card in reverse, funnily enough, and I don't know whether that's because I cannot stand seeing it upright or what, but I will like usually if I draw this card from this deck, it's going to be in reverse. I'm like, oh, and I think it's just because they freaking drew it upside down. Do you see that shit? It's so ridiculous. It's like it should look like this in my mind. But anyway, I might actually hold it like this just for the hell of it. No. So in the celestial deck, basically they kind of lean more towards contemporary astrology instead of the traditional astrology to astrology to tarot with the Chaldean order and all that. So they go way off the Golden Dawn. Basically, they go way off away from it. So whereas in the Golden Dawn, the Ace of Wands is the element of fire. In the Celestial Tarot, they have the Ten of Wands as the element of fire, represented by the elemental of fire, the salamanders. So salamanders have an interesting a little story on themselves, because we know salamanders are actually aquatic creatures, like actual salamanders are aquatic. The reason for them being associated with fire is because in olden days they'd find a wood pile that they really liked. They'd come out of the cold, they'd burrow themselves in the wood, and people would go in, they'd get the logs, and they'd go throw them on their fire, and well, oh, ouch, it's hot. So salamanders would quote spontaneously generate, unquote, from the flames and the logs, because spontaneous generation was a thing until we realized that it's not. But yeah, so that's why salamanders are associated with fire, and elemental salamanders basically, what ended up happening is, like how a lot of things happen, is due to that story being passed on, being experienced by a lot of people, eventually we create, in the collective and probably actually spiritually, actual elemental creatures based off of our beliefs and views. That's one way spirits come to be. Or possibly it was they were always there and they kind of like showed themselves by sending their salamanders into fire. I think in this case it's more like we created this kind of a deal. But so the Ten of Wands in the Celestial deck, it's the amalgam of the courage of Aries, the creativity of Leo, and the vision of Sagittarius. So this fire in astrology is a combination of all three of the fire signs. Courage of Aries. The Aries is the first fire sign, the first sign of all the zodiac. It's the pioneer. It's the cardinal fire sign, which means it starts things. Leo, the creativity of Leo. Leo is the second fire sign, the fifth zodiac sign. Right? Yeah. The fifth zodiac sign, and it's fixed fire. So it takes all that generation from Aries and it builds it into something great. It actually like sticks with the thing and it builds something great. The vision of Sagittarius. Sagittarius is the final fire sign in the zodiac. It's the ninth. Yeah, ninth. It's the it's the ninth zodiac sign, and it's mutable fire. So it says, okay, that was fun, but what's next? What else can we do? What more can we do? Where can we go? Who can we see? But it's the one that wants to move on in mutable signs. And Sagittarius is very much the visionary and the philosopher. So we have all of those fire signs all together, all culminated in the fire in the Ten of Wands. So it's the word they kind of had for this, or the line they had for this, was a baptism of fire has renewed the spiritual call. The individual is ready to confront their tasks. I kind of wrote that weird. So it's a baptism of fire has renewed the spiritual call. So again, we come back to that ascension and decline at the same time, where, okay, you've gone through all these stages, and now you're going to be bathed in fire in order to ascend. It's like it's going to feel like you're going backwards, but you're actually going up a level. And we've got that theme repeating over and over and over with this card. So it's, for the Celestial deck, this is purely the element of fire. So moving into the contemporary, or the classical astrology, sorry, we've got, I got a new deck. It's the Supernatural deck, so I pulled out cards for this one. So we hear Herod as the Ten of Bones, and I thought it was very appropriate to use in the astrology section. So in modern classical astrology, in the Hermetic order of the Golden Dawn, knowledge of it, The Ten of Wands, or in this case, the Ten of Bones, is associated with Saturn in Sagittarius, whose title is the Lord of Oppression. So the planet of limits and restrictions is putting the reins on boundless, happy-go-lucky Sag. So Saturn is boundaries, limitations. Saturn is the last last planet visible to the naked eye. So for the longest time before telescopes started getting like made and sophisticated, Saturn was thought to be the last planet in our solar system, and therefore it was the bounds of our solar system. It was the boundary, it was the limit. It was like, past here, go no further past here. This is the end. Everything else is stars and void, and heavens or whatever. Which it made it interesting when Uranus was discovered, because then we broke free of those boundaries, which is why Uranus is the maverick, the rule breaker, the let's just fuck things up. Let's change everything. But we're not dealing with Uranus right now. We're dealing with Saturn. Saturn is limits, boundaries, laws. It's the one who it's the person with the clipboard that sits there and goes, okay, wait a second. Have we done this? Have we done that? We can't do that. No, we cannot do this. We have laws to follow. We have boxes to check. We've got responsibilities to do. Saturn is the planet of responsibility. It's like, no, have you done this right? In its unhealthy aspect, obviously, because I do want to bring in some of the unhealthy aspects of stuff here. Unhealthy aspects can be, no, you can't do that because I said so. No, no. It's in its unhealthy aspect. It's like it's constricting and restraining. It's like, no, you can't do that. Period. Because I said so. Because it's against the rules. Well, why is it against the rules? Because I said so. That's kind of the unhealthy Saturn. But and we could see that if we were putting it in reverse. It's like maybe this is unhealthy Saturn. But more often than not, commonly, or no, healthily, Saturn in Sagittarius, we call it the Lord of Oppression because it feels like we're being oppressed. Because especially for Sagittarius. Okay, so Sagittarius, as we were kind of discussing a little bit earlier, is the rule breaker, the visionary, the person who wants to just, what if we do this? What if we do that? The person who wants to bury themselves in books and like never come up. Someone who's like not all that much of a fan of responsibility and restrictions and limitations. They want to kind of do their own thing, be who they want to be. They want to be fiery. They want to be creative. They want to keep going. They don't like the fact that responsibilities are a thing. I can attest. I have rising in Sagittarius. It can be difficult for me to do the responsible things. I have a friend who, funnily enough, she considers herself a Sagittarius because she's right kind of on the cusp between Capricorn and Sag, and she doesn't like associating with Capricorn. I honestly think that's kind of ridiculous because Capricorns are actually really cool, but hey, to each their own. And she loves more embodying the spirit of Sagittarius than she does Capricorn, but I hate to tell her this, but she is very much like a very healthy Capricorn, as opposed to those she'd assume, assuming the stereotypes of Capricorn is all she really knows, because she's not much for astrology. But she likes to embody that free rebel of Sagittarius type deal. And Saturn rules Capricorn, so, which makes this hilarious. But again, we have, back to the card, for freedom-loving Sagittarius, restrictions, boundaries, rules, responsibilities can feel like extreme oppression to them. It's like they're happy-go-lucky. They don't like the boundaries they don't like reins being put on them, and this card is where the reins get put on, and that's like, okay, no, whoa, hold up. Here's your saddle with your saddlebags. You got to carry this cart too. It's like the weight of responsibility you've been putting on. It frickin' sucks for them. Here in this card, the Ten of Bones from the Supernatural deck, we have the picture of the scene well, it's still from the scene where Castiel, the angel, is sitting in a garden in heaven on a stone bench because he's basically at his wit's end. He's at a complete loss for what to do next. He's in this area. He's been following the rules. He's been doing what heaven asks of him, what the other angels tell him to do, but it feels wrong, and he's not sure where to go in this one. Oh wait, no, this is later. This is where he's rebelled against heaven. He's having to fight a war in heaven. He's also trying to get help for that war from a demon who he is trying to hide that allyship with from his basically his best friends who are humans who are also kind of trying to hunt that demon, or it's like it's one of their side things. So he's got all this stuff. He's at his wit's end, doesn't know if he's doing things right or if he's doing it wrong. So he sits in the garden, in a garden in heaven, and this is after actually kind of a battle. It pulls away after he's telling his story, trying to basically praying to his father God. It pulls away, and there's a bunch of dead angels. So he just was after a great battle. He's basically talking to God, who's not answering back. Like, what do I do? Where do I go? I don't know what to do here. So we feel that kind of he's feeling that weight of responsibility, that restriction of like, I've been I've been trying to break through these old regulations and restrictions that don't serve us anymore. I've been breaking through, doing like Sagittarius, moving on, being the visionary, trying to change things, trying to bring good and better things to his world. But due to the actual limits, Saturn, of reality, again, Saturn, he's got responsibilities. He's like trying to figure out what to do, where to go, how to do things. So, and he's at a loss. So it's again that feeling of Sagittarius having the reins put on them by Saturn. That is perfectly culminated here. Yeah, Saturn and Sagittarius, the Lord of Oppression. It's like, okay, I've been doing this stuff. I've been going forward. I've got visions. I've got ideas. I've got things I want to do. I'm trying to like just break out and change things up. But the reality of stuff is you can't just, oh, we break this all apart and everything's great and wonderful. It's like, no, we've got more things connected than you think, and you have to have a plan. You have to have a checklist. So he's realizing that in that card, and that may be where you're at when you pull this card. All right, so the next part of this is our Kabbalah. I have my Black Cat Tarot for here, which is always interesting because it's got a very different take on a lot of these cards. So here we've got a cat pulling in a cave full of crystals, pulling one of those little light switch strings to turn on a couple of pretty lights. He's holding one wand and a candle, and she's looking at the wands stuck in the quartz in the cave. So in the Kabbalah, the tens are associated with Sephra 10, which is Malkut, or kingdom. It is the only Sephra in the world of action, in the Olam. Why didn't I write that down? Oh, basically in the fourth world of Kabbalah. So there's 4 worlds. We've been going through them. So tens are in the final realm, and it's the only world that has only one Sephra, which is number 10, Malkut, or kingdom. It's the world of action, the world of doing. It's the world of putting our feet on the ground and actually going and doing stuff. It's like everything from 1 to 9 in the Sephiroth above has all kind of been in the head, in the soul, in the spirit. It's not actually been physical. 10 is the only place where stuff actually gets physical. So it's the realm of earth. It's the heavy duty actually working. It's the realm of the kings. It's where things actually get done. And Malkut is all about things getting done. It's about the soles of the feet. It's I didn't write any of that stuff about the Sephiroth 10 down, apparently, because I was more fascinated by the Ten of Wands, and yeah, I didn't bring a book with me. So, remember off the top of my head, yeah, well, pretty much that's what it is. It's the final realm. It's where everything actually gets done. There's not much more to it that I know. There is probably a lot to it, a lot more to it, and a lot more you could really get into it, because you can do that with Kabbalah. There's like layers upon layers upon layers upon layers. But that's what we have. And the reason I found it so I didn't write so much of it down, was because I found it so fascinating how it associates with the wands. So the wands are fire, are passion and inspiration. We've got 10 wands here. They're all ready to go. It's in the 10th Sephiroth, in the world where energy must be solid, that fieriness and passion of wands that is associated with the very top realm of the Kabbalah, Kabbalistic tree of life, the very top 3 Sephiroth, that fieriness pulled straight down to the final realm of earth, that like lightest energy in a world where energy must be solid, makes them extremely uncomfortable. Wands represent creativity and intuition. Without an outlet, they can be a burden. So if we think about the traditional RWS card, where that dude is like holding that bundle of sticks down in front, Israel regarding Radal Kliegman actually pointed out, she's like, that we always talk about the position making thing looking so uncomfortable, like the stupidest way to carry a bundle of wands. In fact, in a lot of other cards, like my vice versa tarot, the dude's got the bundle tied on his back, because it's like, why is he like, it's like it's blocked. He can't see in front of his face. We've taken that. She points out very succinctly, she's like, you know what? I realized what threw me off so much. It's the same way you would hold a bunch of helium balloons. He's not trying to hold the wands up. He's trying to hold them down. Because wands are fiery, passion. Fire wants to rise. It wants to go up as high as it can. It is the closest, purest form of energy we know in physical. And fire wants to rise and go up. And this dude in Malkut, in the kingdom, is trying to hold them down, because he's like, no, we've got to actually put this into a solid work. We have to actually do things. No, we can't be creative and out of bounds. Again, with that Lord of Oppression, that Saturn and Sagittarius, it's like, no, we got to put the reins on this. We got to bring it down to earth. We have to take all this fire and passion, and we need to bring it down to earth, because we have to actually do something with it, which can be really fucking uncomfortable. It's like, no, I want to be off in La La Land. It's like, no, it's time to actually bring it down to earth and actually do something with this. And the one bad part about this, and it's often, I'd read it more as kind of a reversal of it, is when you're like, all this intuition, creativity must be buried down, must be put down, and not allowed to have any sort of outlet, which is not good for you mentally or anything. It's like, it becomes a burden if you can't actually be creative, actually do stuff. I'd put that more in the reversal of it, the unhealthy aspects of Saturn, of no, you can't do that. No, you must work, 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 work. You can't have this fun times or creative times. That's not allowed. That's where we see the Ten of Wands in its inverse, and its unhealthy and its shadow aspect of, this is not good, this is restriction. But if we put that in the on the upright, which definitely works out here, We see all that creativity on fire. It's kind of buried here in the crystals. The wands are kind of buried in the crystals. But this person, she's got a candle. She's lighting things up, and she's looking quite pleased. She's like, yes, I can do this. I can dig this creativity out and actually make something with it. I can actually make these. In digging these wands out, she's going to have to dig out some of these crystals. And so she can take that and actually make things with it. She can do stuff. So it's the burden of keeping passion held down can be released in that you actually do something with it. Here we see she's not getting ready to hold these things down. She's like, you know what? I'm tired of holding all this passion and creativity and inspiration. I'm tired of holding it all down and burying it in the earth to try to be responsible. She's like, no, I'm done with that. I'm actually going to go dig this creativity out and make something with it. Again, we are in Malkut, the kingdom of doing, of action. So she's actually going to take all this inspiration and do something with it. She's actually going to make something of it. So that's the Kabbalah. Continuing that a little bit, we have the Kabbalistic Angel. This is Angel 53, Nanael. It's just kind of funny as it sounds. And their name means God humiliating the proud. Their principality, their psalm is 119:75. God humiliating the proud. Well, if you think about it, that makes perfect sense for this card. If we go back to the Mystical Cats card with, they had, oops, dropping cards. They had a fire. They built things up. They'd had a fire, and things got out of control. They lost all control, and things blew up. They were proud, and it's like at a certain point, you're like, I've gone through all of this. I'm getting amazing things done. I'm doing amazing. Nothing can take me down. It's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Reality check. Sometimes that reality check is a good thing, especially if we're expecting it and if we're looking for it. If we're not, if we're assuming that reality is what we make of it, to a degree it is. It's what all of us make of it, so... but anyway, it's like once somebody is like all up on top, all proud of themselves, it's like there will more often than not be something that happens. Now, as to whether or not they pay attention to it is a whole other thing. But it's like at a certain point, if you really think you're above everything, reality will come crashing down on you one way or another. It's Murphy's Law. It's like if anything can go wrong, it will at the worst possible moment. Some people might call it karma. I think it's more a Murphy's Law irony type deal. It's like things must be balanced out one way or another, even though the scales like to swing back and forth at a certain point, and it's like you can't stay on top forever. The scales will shift and you'll come crashing down. So again, God humiliating the proud. Nanael rules over the high sciences and is able to influence religious people, teachers, magistrates, and law persons. Religious people, teachers, and people, and basically kind of anybody of the law. Now, it's interesting, it doesn't say that Nanael rules over them or helps them, it says they influence them. If we go back to their name, meaning humiliating the proud, well, if you think about it, those people, the religious people, the religious leaders, your preachers and pastors and spiritual gurus and whatever, they're on top of their pack, which is a ripe area for things to get, for them to get a little bit full of themselves, a little bit big for their britches, because everybody's coming to them for stuff. Same with teachers. Not all teachers, obviously, well, not all of any of these, obviously, but it's an area where you're ripe for getting a little proud, which there's nothing wrong with that. Just to be fair, just to make sure y'all know, if you are good at what you do and people come to you with questions, be fucking proud of that. This is the pride we're talking about here, is that oh, I can never do anything wrong. I always know the right answer. And somebody comes along with a little pen and it goes, beep. That innate ego that is so utterly inflated with hot air that one little push on it will pop the whole thing. One little, but that's wrong. And here's why. We'll have them either like, we'll have them most often go, well, I knew that. Or, well, that's just wrong. That can't be right. I'm going to go do my own research on that because that can't be right. I'm never wrong. It's the This is the type of pride we're talking about, the humiliation. This is the area that it's right for being a know-it-all and not the good kind, because there are good know-it-all. Well, know-it-all in itself tends to be a negative connotation. So, the person who is ego is just a bunch of they're full of hot air, as we like to say. So the religious teachers, the teachers of any form, judge, lawyers and judges, people of the law who are, well, to a degree, judges maybe not quite so much because it's their area to judge stuff. But again, we call them your honor. I mean, you think about it, we call them your honor. That's kind of a place ripe for getting a little full of yourself. Lawyers, well, they have to act full of themselves because they're fighting. So they're fighting to try to win. So that in itself is gonna just kind of be a given. There's not much room for humility there. Otherwise, I'm pretty sure there's no room for humility there. Otherwise, they're bad at their job. So you know what? We'll leave those guys alone. But we're thinking judges. We're thinking cops, law enforcement type deal. It's like, oh, we're the enforcer of the law. We know how it's supposed to be. It's like, okay, so this, and this are wrong, and they're like, well, but we're the ones in charge of the law. We know. We've had a very recent, obvious cutting down of humiliating the proud with Derek Chauvin actually getting charged with 3 counts of murder. That was very much a God humiliating the proud moment right there. Holy crap, I was so fucking happy to hear about that. But anyway, so we've got kind of that, these people that are up on top in an area ripe for narcissism and ego inflation and being full of hot air. Nana L will come along and go, they're good at influencing that. I'm going to go just straight from their name. They're the person that sticks the pin in it and everything comes crashing down. They're, and if we take, they also rule over the high sciences. So we've got kind of that science thing where we see a lot of stuff where science will disprove what a lot of puffed up airbags will say. It's like, no, you're fucking wrong. So we kind of got that all going together, which is kind of cool. But keep it on going. Those born under Nana L will apparently have a melancholic demeanor and pursue a private life, rest, and meditation. And they'll distinguish themselves through knowledge of abstract sciences. I was like, was I born under this person? No, apparently not. I just aspire to at least half of that. Which, again, points to kind of their influence. They bring down the proud, and if those born under them tend to be more looking for humility, a quiet life, they don't want to be up on top of stuff and everybody looking at them airbags type deal. They're going to be a little more quiet, a little bit more private. They don't want to be that person out there because they're in. It's a humility versus pride thing. Healthy humility versus unhealthy pride, I should say. So yeah, that's kind of what the people born under them will be like. Those with Nana L as a soul guardian are born from 5:20 to 5:40 p.m. Physical guardian December 5th to 9th, and moral guardian of those born February 23rd, May 11th, July 22nd, October 2nd, and December 13th. Alright, so that's not an L. Alright, let's keep going. Alright, so the being from the fantasy world tarot is the dragon. Go figure. So a dragon, there was a book I read that made a very good point of dragons are so mutable. There's no real way to describe dragons as a whole, like a dragon. It's like everyone will have a slightly different view of what a dragon looks like, and dragons themselves will change depending on who's looking at them. But their basic form tends to be a large lizard or serpent-like creature. They're evil in some traditions, beneficent in others, and that's about all they have in common. It's like you have dragons with wings, without wings, with 2 legs, with 4 legs, with 6 legs, with no legs. You got dragons with feathers, with scales, scales like a lizard, scales like a snake, scales like a fish. You get teeth, breathe fire, breathe water, bring the rain, bring destruction, bring chaos, bring luck, bring good wishes. A lot. Dragons are multitude, and they exist all over the world in different forms. Now, the interesting thing, because there's even people who work with dragon spirits today. And me personally, I don't. I've met a few, but I don't really work with them. I'm a little territorial. But dragons are known to be challengers. Even the beneficent dragons in Eastern mythologies, say, for example, in China, we have, because that's the Eastern dragons I know best. In China, they bring rain. However, if you actually look at the myths, people tend not to interact with them and kind of want to be moved away because they're big and they bring storms and rain. Yes, so they bring blessings, but they're big and they're not human, and they're dangerous in a way of they're not actively trying to hurt you, but just because they're so big and unruly and you're so small, they're not paying. They might accidentally step on you, type deal. It's like they're not actively trying to hurt you, but they're not paying attention. So even that beneficent dragon can be a little bit, we kind of stay away because there's a major size and power difference that is not conducive to things actually working out. In the West, we have dragons in Europe traditions guarding treasure, being beasts to fight, most often from the Christian mythology of the great beast or the great dragon being the adversary of Christ and all that shit. Which I find funny because if we look at it from a very symbolical standpoint, dragons, challenges, beasts, guardians, guarding treasures, valuables, riches. One could say knowledge in a way, because that's a treasure. Any sort of treasure or riches. The dragons guarding that, being the adversaries of the Christ creation. Well, are the dragons hoarding it and not giving it? Or is Christ saying all those treasures are to be destroyed? And we could go on for ages on that and all different kinds, and we'd have to get into specifics and whatnot. But so we're going to kind of keep it back a little bit to Tortero instead of getting to dragons. I might make that something on the side. Or at least file it away for a possibility. Alright, the biggest thing with dragons in general in most mythology, especially in this one because we have a Western looking dragon with the four legs, 2 wings, breathing fire, scary looking growl, in a desert of all places. That was a lot of ums in a row. uh, wow, I can't even stop myself. Basically, we're going to take with this dragon in this card being an adversary, something to overcome, something to fight. It's like this dragon is like, you know what, you think you were doing great, but I'm going to come in here and challenge you, and you're going to see that you're not so great. Go back a little bit to that the previous card with the Nana El humiliating the proud. Dragons steal treasure. It's like you got up on top, you're up on your high horse, someone's coming in to break things down. And again, you're going to decline having to go backwards because stuff's getting fucked up. But you know better, so you're going to ascend and rise to the next level. In this case, you have an obstacle over a challenge to overcome here in this dragon, because dragons often, especially in Western mythology, represent challenges, obstacles, adversaries to overcome, to fight and overcome, to raise yourself up. It's like you were doing good, now you've got a major challenge that is setting you back, but you're going up at the same time, and you've got to overcome it to rise again. So yeah, dragons here. All right. So for our final section, the traditional upright inverse meanings and all that, I brought my tarot of the mermaids. So we've got a mermaid sitting here, kind of looking into the sunset, holding 10 oars, kind of in the classic RWS look where she's kind of holding them in one way, but unlike him, it looks like she's actually kind of trying to hold them up a little bit, but she's also, and she's not really trying to hold them down or up specifically, but she's kind of more leaning against them. Like, she's like, I'm so freaking tired of holding these things. She's sitting down. She's got an open treasure chest next to her, and she just kind of looks freaking done. So, traditional meanings, upright, traditional keywords, I should say, upright burdens, worry, stress, obligations, not being able to hold everything together properly. It's like, God, I've got so much to do, so much in front of me. And you can see this in her profile. She is just fucking exhausted. She's holding all these orders, all these obligations and responsibilities, all these things she's stressed about, she's worrying about. She's just like, oh, fuck. Do I really have to fucking do this? It's just not being able to hold everything together. Now, the inverse or reverse, or the shadows meaning of this card, is release. It's like time to set things down. It's the freedom of release. It's like, you know what? Fuck it. I don't need to worry about this. I don't need to stress about this. Why am I even still holding on to this? I'm freaking done. I'm just like burning it all away. And that's one of the things I will say about the Ten of Wands and the Ten of Wands in the Celestial deck is seeing it in reverse. It's like all those wands and worries and stuff above. It's like they become fuel for the flames. It's like, you know what? Fuck all this shit. We're just gonna burn it. It's like, to hell with it. So it's release. It's like, you know what? I'm done holding back my creativity and passion. It's the traditional reverse is kind of the upright of the Ten of Wands and the Black Cat's Tarot. It's like, you know what? I'm gonna do stuff. I'm just gonna, instead of holding myself back, I'm actually gonna do something. I'm gonna, like, you know what? This ain't my fucking problem. Not my monkeys, not my circus. Or not my circus, not my monkeys. I'm done. I got a box of treasure here right beside. She's got a box of treasure right beside her. And she's so exhausted from all these ores she's holding that she can't even really look at it. In reverse, it's like, she's like, fuck it. These ores are just way too much. You know what? I got a box of treasure over here that I could actually do stuff with. That I could actually go and be something. And all that. It's like, you know what? Drop the ores, focus on the box of treasure, because that's kind of more important here. Her treasure, whatever it may actually be. Yeah, it's like at the end of it all, it's like that's the funny thing that happens with cards sometimes, is often we think about reversals as being negative and whatnot, and oftentimes they are. It's the negative side, the shadow side, the unhealthy side. However, some cards that are kind of a little bit more unhealthy upright are much more healthy in their reverse position. But not always, as like within the Black Cat Tarot, as I pointed out. If I was to read this one in reverse, it's like maybe turning the light off, going, you know what, nope, not going to deal with this shit. It's kind of got the same feel, but the difference is with this one, if it was upright, it's like, okay, I'm going to get to work. I'm going to free my creativity. I'm actually going to make stuff with it. I'm actually going to do stuff. In reverse, it's like, you know what, fuck it. I'm just going to keep it buried and just ignore this shit. I've got things to do that I really don't like. This Black Cat Tarot is almost the opposite in upright and reverse as it is for as opposed to the traditional look of the card, which is interesting in and of itself. All right, so that was the Ten of Wands, episode 27, I guess it actually is. Goddamn, I'm gonna have to renumber everything. All right. Well, I needed a break, so whatever. All right, so that has been our Ten of Wands episode. So thank you all for joining me here. Hope it was informative. Thanks again for your guys' patience, for me going through shit, and for listening to all my ums today. Alright, so I'll see you all next week when we go into the sun sign, the zodiac sign of Taurus, and an herb and a stone. Yeah, it's been fun. It's great to get back in this. Check me out on, like, comment, and subscribe here on YouTube. Check me out on Facebook at Bags and Omens. If you got questions or you want to get in touch for a read or something, email me at bagsandomens@gmail.com. You can message me on Facebook, but I don't always get alerts, and I'm not on there very often, so it might actually be better to email me, because at least that I'll check within a couple of days instead of a week. But to each their own. If you feel like supporting me, I still have my Patreon up. I'm not really promoting a whole lot. I kind of want to... I think I'm going to go down to just one tier of, you know what, throw some money at me if you really like me. Because I don't think I'll do much in the way of bonus content, so I got to really decide if I want to keep that or not. I might just set up a one-time donation thing instead. Alright, but anyway, great to be back. Great to see y'all again. Hope you have a great rest of your whatever, and we'll see y'all next week. Alright, bye-bye.